And growing up, did you ever have the experience where it's like, hey mom, there's this boy I really like at school, can I date him? No honey, you gotta focus on your school. Well, essentially, my mom was like that. Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today's video is actually something really interesting, which is dating in high school. I decided to ask a bunch of my friends, most of them are MIT students, what their experience was like dating in high school. But I had the experience in high school where my parents were quite against dating. They thought that it would affect me negatively academically.
Psych!
But obviously I still got into MIT, which is where I'm going now, and I did date in high school. And I know honestly a lot of my friends dated in high school. Like obviously like these are people who go to MIT now. They did do quite well academically, and so I thought it'd be interesting to sit here or to kind of read and share what they had to say about dating in high school and their experiences. I thought I would just read their responses and share that with you today, and that is what we're gonna start doing. One person said, I failed my physics final because he broke up with me the night before, so I stayed up crying.
Why though?
Overall, glad it happened because it taught me a lot about myself and what I should look for when I'm ready to date again. He was such a jerk, immature, and complete selfish. However, we are friends now, but I would never date him again. I think it was serious, but as a first relationship, we were definitely naive. I think this is really important to think about. At least for me, that's kind of one of the biggest things that I focused on, was that dating in high school for me, I don't think I ever really thought about like that as it being a long-term thing. I don't think that I was gonna think about a relationship long-term until I got to college. I think that I've grown a lot as someone who can be in a relationship as a good girlfriend, and I think I definitely needed those like trial and errors in high school to be ready to like date seriously in college. The next person to say, I had the option to date in terms of having people I liked and who liked me back. I just didn't seem worth it. I didn't have a whole lot of time because of extracurriculars, and there wouldn't have been as much to do as a college relationship where you're not living with your parents. One small regret I have about not dating is that it would have made my first college relationship smoother, but overall I'm happy with not dating. So this is something that's kind of similar, where it does, I think, give you the experience that you need to manage a serious relationship in college. For me, I've only had one relationship in college, which is the one I'm currently in. And I know that I'm glad that I was ready to make it a serious one, and yeah, I'm grateful. This person says it was a waste of time, but I guess it's good to experience these kinds of things. Yeah, I guess. First boyfriend wasn't great and sort of abusive, but I learned a lot from it and I'm glad to have had the experience. Second person was nice and it was a sweet relationship, but ultimately ended due to long distance college age gap. Relationships are time commitments for sure, but I think having the option to participate in high school was beneficial, even if I hadn't actually dated anyone. Balancing relationships with everything else is hard in high school, but schoolwork shouldn't suffer if you still prioritize it even when dating. Hope this helped. See, that is actually such a big point, that balancing a relationship is actually so important. You should be able to still prioritize academics, and this is actually a place where I think parents go in. Having parents who are very supportive of your relationship and supportive of you having a relationship, when you know your parents are okay with it, they will be more involved rather than if you try to hide it. They can help you keep on track. They can help you make sure it's a healthy relationship. Being able to experience that kind of thing where when you're at home, when you have the support and supervision of your parents, I think is actually very, very helpful than trying to start a relationship when you're out on your own and you don't have that kind of support system anymore. Your parents, my parents, are such a great support system, and I'm so grateful to have them, especially guide me through like this learning journey, especially with things like a relationship. This person says, I wish I did date, but at the same time, I think dating did allow me to work a lot harder on myself and academics. So yes, it does, of course, as expected, it does take away time. Haha, it wasn't that serious. It lasted like 2 months of junior year. It didn't particularly help me in school, but it was kind of fun and helped me take my mind off of school. Actually, such a good point is that a lot of people, I know that you think that in high school academics is everything. I think that's a big thing actually, is like once you're older, you realize that grades, not only do grades not really matter that much, especially if you're like trying to get into college, but it really is a really important time to build yourself socially and to learn those kinds of skills. You're not going to develop those skills that are going to be really useful when you're trying to network or when you're trying to get a job or when you're just any time in the future. I don't think that people put enough emphasis on that. This person says, sleepless nights and always texting was how it was for me. Not the best, probably because I was young that I had that experience. Yes, I agree with this. Definitely lots of late sleepless nights texting. Oh, and like kind of with that though, TJ, who I'm currently dating, he always has morning practice and goes to sleep super early, and he's very strict about his sleeping regimen. Because of that, I don't think I really experience that anymore, only sometimes. A lot of these things, right, it is about maturity, and I don't think relationships are ever inherently bad, but if you don't handle them well, they really can be. Okay, so this is the one that I personally can relate to. He helps ground me during a really tough time socially in high school, and dating him is really what kept me alive during such a rough time. I think that people overlook how emotionally difficult teenage years can be. I personally know that I was like low-key an emotional roller coaster. I would have periods of being really happy. I would have periods of being like a depressed nut. And having people who are really close to me, and especially like having a significant other, those things help so much. But I know that having a relationship in college has helped me so much. May it be doing school with someone, feeling like you always have someone you can go to, having someone who you know is always on your side, is always going to support you. Like that stuff is so important and so valuable. Only dated senior year. She was smarter than me, so it probably helped my academics. Again, find people who are gonna help you academically. Like, to an Asian parent watching this, like, just be supportive of your kid finding someone good, you know, finding someone who's a good student, who's gonna help your kid, like, be beneficial. And I think it's honestly a lot more valuable as a parent of instead being like, no dating, of helping and teaching your kid of how to find someone good. Oh, shoot. There are a lot of responses. I didn't realize how many responses there were. Good for mental health, but both of us were reasonable and didn't let it affect school. Also, we went to different schools, so maybe it would have had a bigger impact if we did go to the same school. Again, good for mental health. Overall negative, because it affected my other friendship and the person I dated was jealous of my other friends. Please try to stay away from jealousy in a relationship. It honestly breaks them. I lost perspective while being in a relationship, but I feel like having experienced it in high school was preferable to in college. Something that another person also said, the life experience that you get from dating, you can't really get that experience from doing something other than dating. So until you date, you're never gonna really build the skills that you need for dating. So I think it's personally better to develop those skills earlier than later. This is kind of where it comes in when like your parents aren't super supportive. We hid the whole relationship from family because they didn't want us to date. Still dated from end of freshman year to senior year and still talk. Now with college we aren't together, but we still talk and are happy for each other. Overall though, it wasn't the norm, but we were just lucky. Like at the end of the day, kids are still gonna have feelings for each other. You can't really do anything about that. So I guess like being supportive and being someone that your child can go to, I think is like the way to go personally. We studied together sometimes, but usually ultimately ended up getting distracted. My grades actually improved during that period, but I don't remember if my significant other did. Being able to study with someone, it is fun. Like me, like we studied together all the time. I think he's definitely helped me in school when I'm confused. He can explain it to me. I wouldn't say it helped me in high school, but I had no trouble prioritizing my academics while still being able to maintain a relationship. It just means you rely a lot on study dates, which is so true. Have study dates. They're the cutest thing in the world. Admittedly, it wasn't that serious, but I do know people who had pretty serious relationships but also succeeded highly in school. I agree with this. Being in a relationship doesn't change the type of student you are. Excluding dating someone who thinks they're more important than you're learning. That is something that you really have to look out for ever. In college and high school, if someone is trying to make you prioritize them over your academics and you want to prioritize your academics more, like that is a red flag. Okay, in retrospect, it was all just a big waste of time and a big distraction from school. It was fun and games while it lasted, sure, but that was a very short-sighted perspective. In the end, you're left with the burden and heartbreak of having to leave them anyways because you'll likely go in different directions after high school. Looking back, I think I've come to better understand and relate to the maxim, which goes something along the lines of, you either date for marriage or you date for heartbreak. And since in high school, you're likely not getting married anytime soon and hormones are flying every which way, influencing poor decision making, the outcome in dating will almost always result in the latter part of that saying. I saw this random article that was like 2% of people marry their high school sweethearts and like 25% of women marry their first love. But I think that what I do disagree with is the whole like you date for marriage or you date for heartbreak. You can also date for like experience. Like as someone said previously, when you've dated before, I think that you're gonna be a lot more ready when the right relationship comes along, and that one will be a lot more smoother. This person goes, high school boys are stupid, full send. We met through academics and he was marginally better than me, but we did different events so we could help each other with evidence. In our relationship, I ended up becoming salutatorian as well, so it worked. So again, this is someone who did very well academically and still dated. And again, like honestly, like a lot of my friends, even like they were Val, South, they dated in high school and they did great. So none of my relationships were too serious. I always prioritized academics, so some boyfriends were put off by that. I think if you weren't as aggressive as I am about stuff I care about, it could be easy to spend less time and give attention to your boyfriend if he gets super upset about it. It's true that I had to set some time aside for my relationship, but the two girlfriends I had throughout my time in high school were both supportive of doing well academically. And there was always enough time to do good in school and in my extracurriculars. Maybe I could have studied more or picked up some new skills or whatever, but I think the experience was fun I had in my relationships was worth it, and I wouldn't change that if I could, which is very sweet. During my relationship junior year, I was shit at multitasking, so I'd Skype and text with my girlfriend while she did homework until she slept around 12, and then I'd start my homework then and end around 3 a.m. only to wake up at 6:30 a.m. LMAO. That is kind of not good, I would agree, but at the same time, like it seems like your girlfriend was able to work productively while Skype calling you, which you could have done too. The relationship only lasted a month before she cheated. Junior year was pretty chill, so it didn't really do any damage to my grades, but if I went on longer, I probably would have actually lowered a couple of my grades. This person is saying that it would have affected their grades negatively, but it also seems like their girlfriend wasn't that great a person if she cheated. So serious relationships that's still going strong. We had a lot of overlapping classes, so we did a lot of studying together. We had a good dynamic full of trust and support. We were always there for each other for tests, projects, etc. to offer emotional support. See, these are the healthy relationships that we are living for. Yeah! Relationships should be a class to get good grades in.
She's got a point. She's an icon.
I agree. Relationships are a full skill set and they do take time. And then the last one that I wanted to share today is I only got into a relationship my senior year and we're still together. I had straight A's all throughout high school regardless of the relationship. Also, I was struggling a lot mental health wise starting in January, and it was really wonderful to have someone to support me through it all. At school, I had other support, and it's not like my friends weren't supportive, but he knows me really well and knew how to motivate me and help me actually do things. So it was actually a very positive influence. I just wanted to say that in terms of my own personal experience, I don't think that it ever hindered me academically. I remember that I was always super like, no, I can't do anything right now because I have to study for this. Nerd! I was pretty good about like I'm gonna prioritize academics, that's what's important. Thank you so much for watching. Send this to your Asian parents if you want to, or just your parents in general. I know a lot of parents are against dating in high school, but thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and I will see you soon.